Good evening, everybody. I'm going to call the November 11th, 2021 meeting of the Madison County Board of Education to order. I want to welcome all you guys that are here. I think we have some future educators among us tonight, so glad you guys are with us. If we could start out with reading our vision statement with Mrs. Coyle.
Okay. Madison County Schools, in partnership with the community, strives to equip educators and students with the skills to lead by example, develop and speak with a unique voice, and explore their academic curiosity to make a positive impact on our community and world.
Wonderful, thank you. Ms. Jeannie, do we have any audience comments? No audience comments. All right, so we'll move on to our consent agenda. So the next item, the items in our consent are the minutes of our October 21st meeting, claims, acknowledgement of the superintendent's personnel actions, acknowledgement of leaves of absence, the KETS offer of assistance, which is KDE funding, participation in the YMCA Black Achievers Program for 2021-2022, and 2 shortened school day applications. Do we have any questions regarding any of the items on the consent agenda? All right, so I need a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So move.
All right, we have a motion by Mrs. Burford and a second by Mr. Rutherford. All those in favor?
Aye.
Perfect, thank you all. And then next on our agenda is our monthly reports, and we're going to start with our instruction reports, and we have our Math Design Collaborative ladies with us, Ashley Griggs and Miss Denise Strange. How are you ladies?
Good.
Good. Thank you for coming.
Little computer switch out. All right, so we thank you very much for having us tonight, and we just kind of wanted to give you a little update on where we are in the work with the Math Design Collaborative. These are our coaches for this school year. So you have Tiffany Brock, Abby Brown, myself, Sandy Cablin, Denise, and Judy Winkler is with us part-time as well. We have got 4 schools right now that are in year 3 and above in this work. So we have Kirksville Elementary, who is actually brought on another new team this year. So they are progressing farther in the work, but they're bringing on a new team. And Miss Judy Winkler is with them part-time, providing the supports and assistance that they might need this year. Madison Middle, who has also been in the work, they've got a coach that have been assigned to them to provide those supports, not in-house, but Sandy Cablin is working with them and supporting them as they go through the year 3 plus and transitioning to that non-in-house coach. Foley is still in the work. I'm supporting them as well still, so I've transitioned to another building, but I'm back and forth with their supports. And Tiffany Brock is still in-house at Daniel Boone, but she has 2 teams. The one team who has been in the work for about 3 years, and then she's got her second team that's there as well. So here are kind of our new year 1 and year 2 schools. Daniel Boone is finishing up the year 2. Their work got interrupted obviously by COVID last year, but our teams have started picking back up. They're setting their goals, they're making progress. Clark Moores has brought on a brand new school with a brand new team, and I am in-house supporting them as they work through that. Our newest coach, Abby Brown, is at Kit Carson, so she has got their team that is continuing, and then she has got a brand new team that she's supporting as well. Miss Denise is at Silver Creek, and she has 2 teams in the work. So she has her team that was interrupted by COVID, and then she's got a large team for her that are entering their work this year. And Sandy Cablin is in-house at Waco. And they've jumped right in. You know, they've embraced the work. They're looking at data. They're taking and internalizing that data and setting their goals. Our year 3 plus schools, we're seeing them transitioning without the in-house coach and supporting each other. They're sharing resources. They're going into each other's classrooms and modeling and supporting each other with the assistance of the in-house coach. So we've really hit the ground running back into the work this year.
So we thought we'd take a little bit of time tonight, just talk to you a little bit, what is Math Design Collaborative? It seems like we've spent a lot of time talking to you about how we've progressed through the schools, but not a lot of time of talking with you all exactly what we do as part of this work. And so Math Design Collaborative, the teachers are setting goals to improve their instructional practice. And so we're going to share with you tonight the 5 teacher practices that teachers are setting goals around. So the first teacher action is the teacher clarifies for students the learning and the outcomes and the criteria. And so when teachers are working in this teacher action, they're setting goals to help them with the clarity in their classroom, with making sure that their students know what they're learning, why they're learning it, and then the students know how they're successful. And they're doing that for all of their math lessons every single day. And then we are also seeing this work blend over into all the other subject areas also. So that's very exciting to see them take this work that they're doing and then also do that teacher clarity piece in reading and science and social studies and all of the things that they're teaching. So that's teacher action 1. Teacher action 2 is the teacher engineers effective discussion questions, activities, and tasks that elicit evidence of learning. And when teachers are setting goals in this teacher action, they're working on their questioning skills. They're working on selecting tasks that are high cognitive demand tasks, tasks that are engaging to their students. And it could be a goal where they're really working on that task selection, or it could be a goal where they're just working on their teacher practice of things like questioning. And so the teachers set goals in this area. Teacher action 3, the teacher provides feedback that moves the learning forward. And so that is exactly what this teacher action is about. It's about the feedback that teachers give to their students while they're working. And so we really work on them giving the students feedback that clarifies their thinking and giving the students feedback that moves learning forward. And so when we have teacher groups that select this teacher action, that's what they're working on. Teacher action 4, the teacher activates students as owners of their own learning. And that's exactly what that is about. We want our students to be able to become the owners of their own learning. So they are setting goals around things like self-assessing. So the students self-assessing their work and knowing whether or not they have met that learning target. There's a direct tie between this teacher action and teacher action 1 because the students have to know what the purpose of the lesson is to know if they've been successful or not. And then also the teacher providing opportunities for students to reflect on the learning that they've done and the students knowing where they are, like on a rating scale like this, where they are able to think about what the learning target was that day and is this something I have got or I'm getting there or I don't understand it yet. And so that helps the students be owners of their own learning. And finally, teacher action 5, the teacher activates students as instructional resources for one another. And when teachers set goals in this area, they're really working on a lot of math discourse. So we want the students talking about math, talking with each other about math, and explaining their thinking to each other. They're learning to critique the reasoning of each other, which is such a lifelong skill. If you can have a debate with someone and you can present your evidence and someone else can present their evidence, and then we come together and come to a consensus. So that's the types of things that they're working on in Teacher Action 5. And so through Math Design Collaborative, we have our teachers setting goals in all of these areas, and they're constantly trying to improve their teacher practice. And we have the most amazing teachers in Madison County. They're wonderful teachers, but they are constantly setting goals and trying to improve and trying to get better. So they are wonderful models of that growth mindset that we want our students to have, and our teachers have that too, because they're constantly trying to improve their practice and get better all the time. And so we're very lucky to work with them and get to help them do that. So
Very blessed.
yeah.
Very blessed.
So that's all we have tonight. We just wanted to kind of share that with you about exactly what teachers are doing and what we're helping them work on through this Math Design Collaborative. So y'all have any questions for us tonight?
What do these teams look like in the schools? I mean, are they a math teacher from each grade working with like Ms. Brown, or what do the teams look like in a building?
In the elementary schools, all teachers that teach math are on a BIT team eventually. Like at Silver Creek, every teacher, almost in the whole building, our special ed teachers, our regular primary classroom teachers, and then up in our intermediate, we only have one teacher who teaches math for 5th grade and one teacher that teaches math for 4th grade. So all of those teachers that teach math are involved on one of the teams. In the middle school, of course, it's just the math teachers within that department at the middle school level.
We have significantly less number of teachers in a middle school to serve, so it's very much every grade level and special education teachers all included on one team having those conversations.
I think that's wonderful. I mean, I can see where, when Ms. Brown's teaching them about how to handle these things in math, how that can carry over. Those same strategies can be done in,
Yeah, and we're seeing a lot of that, especially in that area of teacher clarity, because that does apply to all subject areas. And so they're working on that piece in the Math Design Collaborative and definitely seeing that. But questioning also, being a good questioner and providing those rich questions for students definitely carries over into other subject areas also.
Very, very interesting. We're very blessed to have you all. This is a great program.
We're very
that we
blessed to have your support in doing this work.
Anybody else have anything? Thank you all very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you all.
Thank you all. All right. That's a good report. Next, let's do our construction report with Mr. Tony Thomas.
Good evening. Well, despite the bad weather today, we've actually had some good weather and good progress recently. A lot of sunshine to keep a move on all 3 job sites. So that's been fortunate for us. Today I'll start with the switching back and forth. Today we'll go to the Richmond ATC, start there. You can see the tower out front now is really developing with a lot of the trim around it. I think it was there at the last report, but a lot of brick now. A lot of brick going up all the way around the building. And there's even more on the back, and they're wrapping around with the insulation and the brick on the front. So I'm sorry. Of course, the Ignite Academy, and there's the picture of the tower right now. So the brick should start working its way around there. They've got to get some insulation on there first. But you can see the trim, and as you walk around to the left, there's another view of the tower. And of course, that's where the soft seating is going to be in the charging stations and all the light. And that little window to the left is a concessions area. This is looking back out front with the roofs that kind of undulate up and down with the larger glass in the middle. Nice sunny day there with pretty clouds, and we just wish it would stay that way. So here around to the back, I was talking about all the brick. You can see the black and red brick going up there, and Chuck and I were in wonder of the tools and scaffold they use. It's like their own little crane going up and down there, but pretty good masonry crew on site with good equipment. Here's a view of the quarter, things getting a little bit sharper, a little bit crisper, a little bit cleaner. So you can see the windows into the classrooms and the larger open areas in the quarter where the labs will be. There'll be signage and things of that nature there. And the welding booths come into play in the welding area there. And a lot of the roof decking on now, and they're going to try to follow as quickly as possible with the roofing on top of that so they can dry the area in. Right. This is the part that faces Kohl's. This is a slab of the black brick where there'll actually be some lettering, where you can see Ignite Academy and so forth. So this is just past the tower, covering up the quite ugly but very efficient insulation on the walls there. So any questions on North Campus Ignite Academy?
I ask you every time, are we on time?
Well, we're still where we were a couple of months ago, so I would say yes. They had the weather days that tried to take more. Chuck and I backed them up and said, no. So it'll be somewhere around mid-March, which as I understand is pretty much going to, same with the Ignite Campus South. Most of the moving's going to take place over summer, and I get all the kids come in next August at both. So plenty of time for that. But I'd say they probably made up a little bit with the brick and the exterior, and if they can get the roof on, they'll have a lot of winter work, to keep them dried in inside. South Campus, Again, a tower of a different nature in Berea and a different color, but you can see how they've made some progress on there. They've got some wood up. I'd say they're just a little behind that. Of course, they started 2 or 3 months later. We bid that a little bit later in the year, last year. Transformer in, walking around the building to the left. Here they've pouring the slab for the storage area, getting ready to put the hollow metal frames in so that they can start with the block work. You can see the diesel lab openings in the background there. Walk back around to the front. You can see the same kind of design on the front there. It's different but similar. Inside the gym storm shelter there, they're beginning work on the HVAC and other utilities infrastructure inside of the storm shelter. Another shot of the quarter shot from Ignite South, same kind of thing, cleaning up, getting crisp lines. As soon as they can get a roof on there as well, they'll be doing some finish work inside. Here you can see they're already starting the welding lab booths in there as well, so it's exciting to see that coming along. And of course, they're probably about 50, 60, 70% done geothermal well drilling. So just a shot of the, to show the geothermal drilling going on as well. That's all along Menelaus Road there. So they're pretty much, I'd say they're more on time to their original schedule than the Richmond site is. But progress is good, especially with the good weather that we've had lately, which may change. Any questions on the South Campus? If we move to Clark Moore's, lots of progress there as well. They're getting ready to pour the slab for the kitchen addition where the new cooler freezer will come, and we'll see the vertical walls go up and block that lovely cooling tower. This is the back, along the back wall of the cafeteria where they've poured the brick seat underneath there to come up with the brick. You know, we're covering all the metal panel with the brick, so that should start coming out of the ground soon. And this is just this is going to the other end of the wall and showing back in that direction. As we walk around, this is the athletic building with all the plumbing covered up. Not a lot has happened since then because their concrete work has been going on with the new band addition, which is in this picture right here. So at the end of the building, in the very back, a lot of concrete work's been going on. They've been coming out of the ground with footings and rebars, as you've seen in the progress reports. Here's another picture from above. I'm standing up at the end of the classroom quarter, and you can see the work continuing to go on. If we go back around front, you can see that they're putting the topsoil in. They're going to try to clean that area up where they've done some paving and get some either winter weed or winter rye down to get some grass growing in that area to get through the winter. But they'll come back next year and put the top coat of asphalt down and put some nice new permanent grass in there as well. The area that we're trying to get done is quick spot. They're just about done in Area D, except, Chuck's saying done, except for getting the equipment that's had this long lead time. There's not a lot of work going on because they're just waiting for that equipment to get there. They've already painted and got the ceilings out and got the ductwork in place. So as soon as they get that equipment in a few weeks, they'll tighten that up pretty quickly. And there's the cafeteria, kind of the same thing. They've got to a point where they got so far, they've cleaned it up. Now if they can just put HVAC units in the ceiling, we can cover all that up. But you can see already it's starting to look pretty sharp. Another picture of a classroom. Oh, and skipped right over last time I said something about throughout the building, new plumbing fixtures, nice clean new plumbing fixtures. And that's it for the Clark Moore's project, unless anyone has any questions. Okay. I know there's a couple other architectural items in the agenda, but I'm just going to come back up when those come up. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Tony.
We're keeping him busy. All right, so next on our agenda is Mr. Woods with our monthly financial reports.
Good evening.
Hello.
All right, we will start with our bank reconciliation, as you see there. As of October 31st, the district ended with a reconciled balance of $74,994,773.32. We've been talking about this for a while. It is up compared to last year. You know, Mr. Thomas was just up here. We have a lot of construction projects going on. We're holding on to that bond money and paying out as we complete. So that makes up the majority of it. We've talked about food service has a decent balance. We are working on that with the state to reduce that balance down to their 3-month expenditure requirement. You all have approved several projects there as well, new tables, really revamping our cafeteria, some new equipment and stuff. So as those things come in, we don't pay them up front. As they come in, you'll see that balance go down some. Of the reconciled balance, the district has $5,740,990.65 in CD investments. Those rates are still extremely low, so haven't changed any at all, and the outlook is not good for them to change. In your packet, you also had the balance sheet and revenue and expense report for the month. I've went through there. I've looked at where we're at expenditure-wise compared to the budget. We're on target. We did this past week receive our first tax revenue check. So we have deposited that in the bank. That takes us to 82% of what we have budgeted has been collected at this point. Of the property taxes, our overall taxes of property, franchise, and delinquent is at 77%. Franchise lags a little bit, so we'll probably get our first big payment of franchise in December. So it'll start ticking those numbers up. Our motor vehicle taxes are at 34% collected, which is where they should be at this time. Any questions on the financials?
Okay. So I need a motion to approve the monthly financial reports as presented.
So moved.
All right, we have a motion by Mrs. Brock, and do we have a second?
I'll second it.
A second by Mrs. Burford. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Mr. Woods, do you want to do the next item on the agenda?
Yes,
Approve the
ma'am.
School security fund request.
So this is our second request. We talked about this last month. We sent off our first one. It has been approved. Yay. So
That's good news.
as soon as I got the news that they were approving that one, I got this one ready to get on the board agenda. That way, this is access devices. So we're talking about card readers, things of that nature to get in to the building. We had a few front door cameras and intercom systems. These are all projects that we've done in the past and paid for out of general fund. They're allowing us to go back, so I'm trying to collect as many as those as possible so that we can basically pay back the general fund for what it has expended and qualifies.
So just a reminder, we're just seeking reimbursement from those funds that have been allocated.
Yes.
For the specific purpose from the state.
Yes, these are projects from 2019 through July of 2020.
Do we have any questions for Mr. Woods? Okay. So could we have a motion to approve the school security funds request for the security access controls?
So moved.
All right, we have a motion by Mrs. Coyle. Do we have a second?
Second.
And a second by Mr. Rutherford. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So next we have our audit reports, and we have Ms. Tammy Patrick and Beth Francis of Patrick and Associates. Hello, ladies.
Good evening.
How are you
Can you all
guys?
hear me? I'm told I talk kind of quiet most of the time, so I want to be able to be sure you can hear me. But I'm Tammy Patrick. This is Beth Francis, and we are Patrick and Associates. We both worked for the state auditor's office for the majority of our careers and retired a couple of years ago and started an audit firm. We specialize basically in school board audits and local government audits. I just kind of want to give an introduction, let you kind of know a little bit about us. We've really enjoyed working with everyone here. We've already met with Superintendent Gilliam, and Mark this evening and talked about the audit and the final result there. And I think you'll be happy to know that we do have a good, clean, what we call clean, unmodified opinion in technical audit terms on the school for the fiscal year 2021. There were no internal control findings. There were no issues related to compliance with your federal programs. The prior year audit management letter comments, which were related basically to your school activity funds, were all corrected, and it was a really great audit. All that is possible. Of course, I want to say too, first of all, I want to say that financially, your net position increased by about $17 million from the prior year, and that's basically because your fund balances have gone up and out, and that's mainly attributed to the bond proceeds and things of that nature, and that's outpaced the increases in your net pension expense liabilities and your OPEB liabilities, as well as your increase in your bond liabilities. So that's a great thing. That we don't see that happen all the time. So net position went up. So all of your other fund balances remain relatively the same. General fund went up by about $7 million overall, and that is kind of covers the difference in you had a few funds that had negative balances, but that's just due to a timing issue with accounts receivables that will be coming in. So that's how that kind of works with your financial statement there. So everything, like I said, is really good, sound financial standing. And I want to say that the reason that you all have that, I think, is because you have a really good finance officer and his staff, and your school activity fund bookkeepers. Just everybody worked really well with us, very professional, very responsive. Audit documentation was easy to get. They were very, if we asked for something, it was there. It wasn't that they were trying to go back and find it or produce something, or just a really good, efficient, I think, effective audit. And it was, a lot of it is attributed to your staff here. So you're very, as I told the superintendent earlier, very blessed. So I don't know if you have any other questions, or just you want to add anything, Beth? There wasn't a whole lot to say at the exit conference today, I said, which was a good thing, because there weren't any comments. So, any questions?
I think you all got a copy of
Yes.
the mound report, the final one. There was a draft one out earlier. Not much changed from the draft, just some formatting issues and all, but that is the final version that we sent to KDE.
Yes.
No, we appreciate you. We expect nothing less, actually, so it's great news.
Yeah.
So, okay. That's all.
Thank you all very much.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so we need a motion to formally receive our 2021 audit report from Patrick and Associates as presented.
So moved.
All right, we have a motion by Mrs. Brock. Do we have a second?
So moved.
All right, and a second by Mr. Rutherford. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. All right, and I think Mr. Tony Thomas, you're up next. We have our BG1 for our new middle school.
Well, hello again. Certainly an exciting time for Madison County to be replacing the new middle school, or replacing Madison Middle School on the new property, and I'm just glad that all went through for you. This, of course, is the initiation of that project, and this form will be submitted to the Kentucky Department of Education. One of the biggest things that this form does is establishes an initial estimate to the Kentucky Department of Education and the associated fees, and of course how you're going to pay for it, and it requires your approval. As you know, with inflation right now, this is just an estimate. We'll see where things go, and you've probably read the news in the paper about what happened in Fayette County and Powell County, and it's kind of crazy what's going on. But the numbers are basically for the new Madison Middle School, which is to replace the old Madison Middle School, is $35,500,000, and you have construction contingencies, architect's fees, fiscal agent fees, bond discounts, geotechnical investigations, special inspections, and some other miscellaneous fees that all add up to $39,950,750. Did I say that right? $39,950,750. That is the total expected cost at this moment when you're initiating the project. So on the funds available column, Madison County has chose to do 100% FSPK bond sale. And of course, Dr. Gillum and Mr. Woods can speak to much better about that. But I think you all are familiar, you could probably tell me more about the FSPK bond sale than me, but that's how it would all be funded. And that's, other than identifying the project and saying what the costs are going to be and how it's funded, that's basically it for the BG1. So with that, I would recommend that you approve the BG1 and initiate the project. Unless there's any questions, or if Dr. Gillum has anything to add at this point.
Anybody have any questions? This is just step one.
Right,
We have to get.
of several
We
steps.
have to have several steps. We have to get a lot of approval from the state as we move along the process.
And this doesn't have the athletic complex, right? This is just,
We're intending for it to have the athletics constructed all at one time. The
Right.
discussion so far is you might as well, while you're moving all that earth
Right.
around, you might as well go ahead and build it with the athletic complex at the whole time. I'm sorry, at the same time.
right, okay.
So that is in this estimate that we're
Yes.
presenting.
Okay,
Yes.
yeah, that's what I was asking.
Yes.
And we'll keep our fingers crossed. All right, do you have any questions for Mr. Thomas? All right, so I need a motion to approve the BG1 for the new middle school as presented.
So moved.
All right, we have a motion by Mrs. Burford. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
And a second by Mrs. Brock. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, next we have our baseball and softball project bids that have come in.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
On Tuesday, November 9th, we opened and received bids publicly right here in this room for the dugouts and storage buildings that you all had previously approved as a final project. We went out to bid, got 4 competitive bids, and of course, you can see one of those is lower than the others, and that's TK Industrial. Obviously, right afterwards, I called, TJ Leach is his name, works with TK Industrial, to make sure that he was good with his bids, which is what we often do. It's not that it was $400,000, but still, if it's lower than the others, we want to verify that everybody's good. He was very good with the numbers. He's solid. He's good with everything, all the addendums. So they are the low bid. He did have, that particular bid had a deduct for the addition of a metal roof, where the others had adds. I talked to him about that, and he said it's because he's doing the roofing himself, and he just has to buy the material and put it on there. You know, he's done, I don't know if y'all know him or not, he does, you know, metal buildings and things of that nature. Right now, the BG1 that you will approve associated with this does not show taking that off, and it could be some discussion about it. My thought is that the roof is probably get beat, a metal roof will get beat up by foul balls and things of that nature. And I'm sorry, that's not something we've talked, I haven't talked with Dr. Gillum about that. Because I know that was one of the questions, hey, can we see what that would cost? Well, in this case, it's even lower. I don't know if I still wouldn't stick with a shingle roof. And all, like at Central, well, all of, the other buildings have shingle roofs on them. So at this point, the recommendation is to take the low bid from TK Industrials and just to keep the shingle roofs. Now, that's up for discussion. If you all want to, you know, we can still make that change to accept the alternate. You're not saving that much money. So I guess that's my recommendation, and maybe I should ask you at this point if you have a question, maybe about the alternate or any of the bids.
I think that is a good point about the metal roof and the baseballs and, you know.
And a lot of these buildings, you're not going to be able to see it that much anyway. It is metals, you know, a lot of the buildings we do new, especially when you have a steeper slope, you can see them better. They're nice, and they're nice looking, and you can select a color. Most of these, the slope's not that much, and it's facing away from the field. So and you know, in the back of Central baseball, you'll never see it unless you're down in the.
So is that going to change this price?
Well, it actually will be the 662,074, which is the base bid, which right now, the BG, I'm assuming, Mr. Wood, they also have the BG1. So when you bid this, of course, you'll have to amend your BG1. The BG1 shows the 662,074 number. So that's what I believe all of our recommendation is just to go with, just accept the base bid. And I guess it's part of the same motion that they would amend the BG1 with the same motion. maybe I would make that recommendation that the BG1 will be revised to reflect the number that I just said, 662,074, for a total project cost of, sorry, I was looking at we hope it's not 39 million. That was the middle school BG1. $721,179. That includes all the fees and associated fees and contingencies and things of that nature. So I'd recommend approval of the base bid to TK Industrial, accepting the base bid only and amending the BG1 to reflect that.
And just a reminder, the base bid is the shingle roof, not the
Yes,
metal roof.
yes.
And this is Central and Southern combined. This is the entire
Yes,
project.
that's right. It's Madison Central baseball, home and visitor, dugout and storage. Central softball, same thing. Southern baseball, same thing. Southern softball, same
I
thing.
think it's a total of 6 storage buildings and 8 dugouts.
That's right.
And all the stuff that goes with it.
That's right. Plenty of bats.
Do
The
we have any
wooden
more
kind.
questions? All right. So I need a motion to award the Madison Central and Madison Southern Athletic Dugout and Storage Project to keep TK Industrial Services for $662,000, $662,074, and approve the revised BG1 for that project.
I'll make the motion.
All right, we have a motion by Mrs. Burford. Do we have a second?
Second.
And a second by Mrs. Coyle. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you for that one. Just stay there.
Yeah, stay right here.
The next one is our Phillips Building schematic design.
Well, we've had a little bit of a break on this because I think, of course, the board, with keeping up with the facilities that affect students, have been doing a lot of work, and there's been a lot going on. So I think this one kind of got put to the back burner a little bit, which is quite all right. We've been able to get back with Dr. Gillum and Mr. Cash and others and kind of work through what would be the best schematic design for them and for Madison County in renovating that building. So if we look at the site first, this is, of course, a bird's eye view, and north is up, Madison Central is on the right. You can see the curvy road. And, of course, towards the bottom is Georgia Street, Wilderness Road behind it. Let's go ahead and zoom in on the building itself. You can see where, to the left, there's parking. That portion of the existing Phillips building will be demolished, and if you all have been through there, you know that's the part of the building that's, not in best shape. So, and of course, again, to the right is Madison Central. If we get a little closer there, you can see that we've, in that grassy area across the street from Central, we've gone ahead and put in as many parking spaces as we can there. So we've added 10 parking spaces there. And then I'm going to go over here. This is where the building's demolished, added more parking there. This will kind of become the entry to the tech center there. So that area is going to remain where you have the 2-story technology center right now, Jesse P. Ward facility. So I'm going to, any questions on the site before I get more in detail on the floor plans? Okay, well,
So that.
I'm sorry, yeah, let's
I'm
back up.
So this this parking lot right here.
Yes.
Is basically in the area that is being demolished?
Yes. Yeah, that dashed line, which may not be real apparent, but there's a dashed line going around that parking lot. That is the shape of the building right now. It almost is the parking lot. The building is a little wider than the parking lot is right now. And you'll be able to come off the parking lot up top and drive around and come into what a door on the lower level of what is the tech center right now.
So if people want to go into the technology center, the Jesse P. Ward
Mhm.
building, they will park back there now and go in a different door.
Well, they'll still have both options.
Both, okay.
Yeah, yeah. We will put, the
There'll be
idea
a
is that where
door.
we're tearing the building down, we will put a brick facade along the Georgia Street side so that it will look nicer, and we'll put a canopy with some doors, so that can be the entry. But if somebody wants to still park up at the top side and walk in, we're not modifying that area. So it'll be an option. Now, I probably should have thought about that. I'm flipping you around. Central is now on your left. So now that we're looking at the building, Central is on your left, but let's just go ahead and zoom right in. Towards the top left corner is where you would currently enter the doors and see Mrs. Clausen there smiling. And towards the right is where we're demolishing. The end of the building there is where we've demolished a long portion of the building. Now let's scoot in even further. You can see in the left there, the double doors swinging out. That's the entry right now to the Phildips building. If you go in, now you'll be in a locked vestibule. So the design that we're looking at has a security lock vestibule, a window into the reception. Ms. Clausen's about where she is right now, Mr. Cash right behind her. You can come into a lobby. And where there's a few offices and workrooms now, we're going to open it up and let the windows bleed some light into a large open area where there'll be open desk, where some of the people who are maintenance staff right now can come in and have, this would be their one big open office. There's a conference room table right there. We'll probably put an interactive TV on that wall, the storage wall. You can see the blue areas there are storage and planned storage. As you keep walking down the corridor to the right, there's a women's restroom, there's a men's restroom, there's custodial. On the left is a break room that can also double as a little learning space, whether it's bus driver training or any kind of training you want. It will be a training space. If you walk out the door and come down, you can see a larger men's restroom there. There'll be showers and a place to really clean up. So you can be out in the shop and come into that restroom before you even go in what we've been kind of referring to as the clean area. And there'll be a wash-up sink, things of that nature. To the bottom of that is large storage areas. These areas will be raised up there'll be a concrete slab poured to raise them up. You know, there's been some water issues in the Phildips building.
Yeah, Dave and I talked about it.
Maybe I shouldn't have brought that up. It just comes with an old building. But we'll get those floors up, and those are stored. Special ed and central office gets a spot. There's, different areas of storage there. When we go over to the right of the building, there's going to be shops for HVAC, electrical. Then there's a work bay to the end where you'll be able to drive trucks in and out of the building and also work on them. And then the lower area to the right is tech storage. And that, at the other end of the building, I didn't get too detailed on. We're going to build in a little salt storage shed so they can store salt inside the building as well.
And a wash bay in there, right? And to wash the trucks and things like that.
Is that a question or is that a request?
I didn't think it was a question, but.
She's referring to that end piece right there where the
Oh, well,
floor is sloping right there.
at this point, it's been more repair to me. If we want it to be a place where trucks could be washed, we could certainly design it that way. There's a few more EPA standards that have to go into, the drainage and things of that nature.
Right.
But if that's how we want to
Sorry, Mr. Cash.
proceed, well, no, that's why we have these meetings and that's why we bring this up. If we want to internally, be able to wash trucks, then we need to design the space accordingly. And that's why we go through these steps. You say we have that discussion, we don't have to have it.
In that next to the last slide, that center piece there where you can exit, you're showing a sloped floor for drainage.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So you can, yes, we can use it as a wash bay. We'll add some additional water spigots and things like that, and some hot water, to be able to get that grease off there.
Mr. Cash, not to put you on the spot, about how many maintenance vehicles do you have? Just a guesstimate, I'm not holding it to.
12, 13.
Okay.
The reason for the shop with the slope forward was that we don't have anywhere for the guys to work on where it's warm. We're not heating the entire warehouse, it's just that one brown room. So our snow plows, any other maintenance or equipment that we need to work on, we're not trying to air condition, just heating. All the shops and storage will not be climate controlled, they're just what they are. The biggest reason that we were excited about the brown square was so that they had somewhere to work in the wintertime. Snow plows are a big problem, you have to plow them out and work on them, you don't have any work. It is got a slope floor, we did talk about it, Brad. You can regular wash and clean equipment, you can wash vehicles, yes.
Great.
We'd already thought of that.
And so the salt will be covered, right? It won't be just out in the open.
Correct.
It will be
Yeah,
covered.
that's what we're designing on the side, where we can get the salt and the lag, rains on this kind of.
At the bottom of that slide, which is very small, you can see a little blue square in there we're filling in a recess area. There we go. We're filling that in, and that would be the salt storage area. And you'll also see 3 little bins there to the left. We're adding a place. Of course, we've had some discussion about moving them, but for schematic plan, we can still change things like this. But there's going to be exterior bins for gravel and mulch, so they can have a place to store it and pick it up. But yes, the salt needs to go in a covered area.
So we're cleaning that whole walkway up right there, because that's typically the walkway where parents come from that Phildips parking lot to a football or basketball game. I mean, it's just a mess down through there. Students walk through there every day.
Walked through it many times myself. I'm going to wave a magic wand and make it look like the Taj Mahal.
Thank you. It just needs a good clean.
Yes.
Maybe not to that.
Yeah, we don't want to pay for the Taj Mahal, but no, that has been a topic of discussion.
Thank you.
Yes.
I mean, it's, if we have visitors coming, that's what they see right
Mm-hmm.
there. And it needs to be well lit, because it's dark through there too.
Well, that's a good point. We'll look at the lighting in that area as well, because we'll go through a design development phase on this as well, and we'll be sure to react to those comments.
That whole back parking lot is dark.
I'll remember that too.
This building is very old. I mean, we approved however many months ago to do some work to this, and there's just a lot of work that needs to be done to it.
Right.
It needs a lot of attention. And Mr. Cash has got probably a bigger staff than most people realize in terms of how many people work with him on our maintenance staff.
Right.
So he doesn't have just a couple people. He's got several working for him, so.
And I should reiterate that for the most part, we're also replacing or repairing most of the roof on a lot of large portions of that area. But I'll also mention, and we're covering windows with metal, a lot of metal siding, which has already been done along the front. But outside of that, we're not really doing a lot to the, I was teasing there about the Taj Mahal. We are going to try to clean that side up. But the rest of the building, there's not really anything planned. I just wouldn't want anybody to come and expect all of a sudden it to look a lot different after spending this money on it. At this point, we're not really focusing too much on that more than we are the functionality.
Exactly. Well, and then when we get that part torn down with all the broken windows,
And that's the worst
looks
part.
awful.
That's the worst part. So with that said, I'd recommend approval of the schematic plans for the Phildips renovation project.
Okay, any more questions for Mr. Thomas on that? All right, so I need a motion to approve the schematic design of the Phildips building renovation project, which is BG 21069.
So much.
All right, we have a motion by Mr. Rutherford. Do we have a second?
Second.
And a second by Mrs. Brock. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We had a busy night tonight.
Yes, that's good.
Yeah. All right, next on our agenda is to create and ratify one full-time paraeducator position at Kingston. This is a position that will be funded through a Save the Children grant, so there won't be any cost to our general fund. Do we have any questions regarding that? All right, so I need a motion to create and ratify a paraeducator position at Kingston Elementary. All right, we have a motion by Mrs. Brock, and do we have a second?
Second.
And a second by Mrs. Burford. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Then next on our agenda is to approve the first reading of revised policies 8.1131 and 8.1133. Do we need to say much about these?
Well, I can just quickly mention what those are. Both of those are dealing with their dual credit courses. And effectively what we're doing is just making sure that our policy is kind of up to date with what colleges and universities are actually doing with dual credit. And the main piece of that is it's saying that a lot of that will be determined by the site-based councils, because the site-based councils work with the colleges and universities to build those schedules. And so which students are eligible for which classes are determined by, as much as anything, availability in the schedule, and also the college or university that they're working with, their criteria for acceptance. So for us to have a board policy that says a dual credit student has to have a certain GPA or be at a certain grade level, those are really antiquated policies, so this is just updating that.
And we do have to do 2 readings of this, so this
Yep.
will be the first reading, and final approval will be at our next meeting. Do we have any other questions? All right, so I need a motion to approve the first reading of revised policies 8.1131 and 8.1133.
So moved.
All right, we have a motion by Mrs. Brock. Do we have a second?
Second.
And a second by Mr. Rutherford. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you all. Next, we need to review our public hearing report and approve our district facility plan, and we have Dr. Broombaugh with us to help us with that.
All right, good evening.
Hello.
As we discussed our last board meeting, we held our public hearing on November the 4th. It was advertised, but no one from the public showed up. So I guess to report back to you, there isn't much. So basically, I guess the next step would be is to approve the facility plan. We're nearing the last couple steps. If you recall, last month, the facility plan was basically taking Bellevue Learning Center and Waco Elementary School and making those transitional buildings. Once we make those transitional, obviously we can remove all those from the major renovations on there, and then adding a new Waco Elementary School onto the plan.
Does anybody have any questions for Dr. Broombaugh? This was basically just to report back of the results of the public
KDE
hearing.
requires us to have a public hearing.
So, all right. So we need a motion to acknowledge the review of the public hearing report and approve our district facility plan.
I'll second it.
All right, we have a motion by Mr. Rutherford and a second by Mrs. Burford. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. So that should now show up on the next KDE meeting.
I'll be sending it tomorrow morning to KDE, and they said it should be on the December agenda.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, so next on the agenda is probably what everybody's waiting for. Our 22-23 calendar recommendations with Mr. Randy Neely.
This is the first step of the process. The calendar committee has got together a couple times and rehashed and looked over. We've got 2 drafts in front of you. There's not a lot of discrepancy between either one. The calendar lays out really well as far as dates and things of that nature, but there was some concern with members of the committee on too many PD days up front. Some folks loved it, some did not. So hence the 2 different calendars with PD that are different. And then we'll send that out to all staff members and they can decide. So the biggies, the highlights are always August 17th on both calendars as students' first day. May 23rd on both calendars are students' last day. We typically have the first full week of April is always spring break. So you'll see that listed on both calendars, April 3rd through the 7th. And then our fall break is typically the second week of October. So that will be October 10th. So we meet the requirements set forth by the state of 1062 hours and 170 days. So that those requirements are met by both of these calendars. And we will, if approved, send both these to all staff members and they will vote on it by Google Forms. And we will get plenty of comments
Again, about how
So-
many people participate in voting?
That's a great question. Typically, and I'll bring it to you when we have it, close to 900. So if we have 2,000 employees, 45%.
Getting close to 50. Okay.
And those that vote typically comment. Thumbs up or
Naturally.
thumbs down, yeah.
But that's the reason we send it out.
That's right.
That's the reason
Yep.
we want to hear from them, we want to know what works best and
Yep.
their input.
Their input, that's right.
And I would encourage our teachers and staff to weigh in on this,
Mhm.
because the PD days are really the only difference.
That's right.
The
Yep.
spring break and the fall break and all that is the same between the calendars, so that the only difference is how their PD days lay.
Mhm. Right.
So, I know for me, I'd like to know, I mean, that's who it affects,
Mhm.
so. I
Yeah,
would like to
and
know.
we had typically, had always did the calendar like March, April. So this is really for the community, folks that want to take time off and can schedule their vacations. That's the reason why Dr. Gillum decided to start doing this in December. COVID hit, and we had some things that caused major hiccups, but this is really for our parents to be able to schedule their vacation time.
Well, didn't we this past fall put a lot of PD days in front coming out of COVID? So this
Correct.
is a great opportunity for them to voice whether they like that or
Right.
whether they didn't.
And it still gives you PD on the front. Used to,
Right.
for years and years and years, we had an opening day and a PD day, and then here come the kids. So, there does need some time for teachers to get back and get settled in, and some common planning and grade-wide planning to figure that out. So that is certainly needed. That's why we have PD on the front in both drafts. Just one is more than the other.
If I'm reading this correctly, one has 3 PD on the front end, the other one has 5.
That's right.
So,
Mhm.
couple of-
And a little different, too, is if you look at December 16th is on a Friday. Typically, we like to get out on Christmas on a Friday, but 16th to the 4th is a long break, so we're going to go a couple days that next week, just to grab us some days, too. Just Christmas falls sometimes on a weekend. It makes for a choppy calendar there at the end.
So yeah, I would just encourage our staff to please weigh in on this so we know what you guys want.
Yep.
All right. Do we have any other questions? Okay. We don't have a motion or anything. We do that next time when we bring us the results.
Thank you.
When will
Thank
they
you.
start voting? Tomorrow? I guess?
No, it won't be tomorrow. It will be next week, and I'll give them a full 5 to 7 days to look at it.
Perfect. Thank you.
Mhm.
So next on our agenda is to authorize superintendent to explore the management and control of Kentucky Tech, which is our Kentucky Tech out at Madison Central. Do you want to talk about that at all?
Yes, currently we're part of the Kentucky Tech system with our Area Tech Center, and that's the one that we plan on relocating out to the Ignite Academy North Campus. And with that, the state has given us the opportunity, given districts where an ATC is locally or is housed, they're giving the local district the option of taking over management and control of those. In that, they've given a specific time frame. We would have to petition KDE to do that by December 31st of this current year. So what I'm asking is that the board authorize me to explore that. So this is not a final decision. It's kind of like just authorization to explore. And then if I'll bring back what we find out and the information we have and a recommendation at the December meeting, and the board can then make a decision. But a big part of that authorization is with our petition to KDE, we also have to have memorandums of understanding with the other districts that are serviced by that ATC. So I need to be able to discuss that with them. Obviously, this authorization doesn't approve any of those memorandums of understanding. It just, when I go and talk with those other districts, and those other districts are Estill County and Berea Community, And when I talk with those, that we would be able to have discussions with them and know that it's been authorized by the board. So request that you do that.
All right, do we have any questions? No? All right. So I need a motion to authorize the superintendent to explore petitioning KDE to assume the authority for the management and control of the state-operated Vocational Education and Technology Center located in Madison County, which is the Kentucky Tech at Central, and negotiate terms of memorandum of understanding with those districts that are currently being serviced.
So moved.
All right, we have a motion by Mrs. Coyle, and do we have a second?
A second.
And a second by Mrs. Brock. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you all. And so next we have our superintendent's report.
All right, well, thank you. Well, it was great being out in some of our schools today as they celebrated Veterans Day. And our students and our staff were very excited about being able to perform those programs that they do each year for Veterans Day. And I also received a few emails today from community members saying thank you for the programs and how well, really bragging on our students and staff. And I want to make sure that I give credit where credit is due. Those programs obviously are put together by our school staff, and our students always do a wonderful job on those Veterans Day programs. But with that, of course, I also want to make sure we recognize the purpose behind those programs and say thank you to our veterans for their service, for what they've done, for their sacrifice. Just thank you for your service to our country, to all of our veterans. So now in other events, on October 30th, I had the privilege of traveling to Kroger Field to watch the Madison Central and Madison Southern bands compete in the state finals. Congratulations to Mr. David Ratliff and the Madison Southern Band. They finished 5th in 3A competition, and Mr. David Jaggy and the Madison Central Band, who finished 2nd in 5A. These groups work so hard, and they're a tremendous source of pride for our district and for our community. We just really appreciate what they do. We want to thank those band professionals that teach and mentor and guide and direct those band programs and our students. We thank the students for all of their hours, long hours of work. We know it's a lot. We thank our community as well for their support, their monetary support. They do a lot of sponsorships and so forth with their band and all of our extracurricular programs. We also want to thank those band parents who work from daylight to dark on band competition days, making sure those shows can hit the field. So just a very, again, just a source of pride for our community when you can stand there in Kroger Field and see 2 of our bands among the just a handful that are recognized at that state competition. I also want to give a shout out to our administrators who are principals at both of those schools who spent that entire day going to the semifinals and then traveling on with the bands to the finals. It was very good to see them supporting the kids. On Friday, October 29th, I hosted David Young, who's the executive director of Central Kentucky Education Co-op. He visited our district. CKEC is one of our educational co-ops. They support our schools with training programs and academic supports and a few other things as well. But he was able to go around. We visited some schools, visited our facilities, very impressed with our facilities, and also very impressed with the people that he met when we visited their schools. So we thank them for everything that they do to support us as well. I attended the Kentucky Education Summit on November 1st and 2nd in Louisville, and while I was there on that second day, Madison Central senior Zach Holman opened day 2 of that conference with an instrumental solo of My Old Kentucky Home. And if you all had an opportunity to see that on video as it was shared out through social media, he did a great job. That was just truly an awesome performance. I'm currently going around the district conducting principal evaluation site visits at all of our schools. This keeps me busy for a few weeks, getting around to everyone, spending a little time, but it gives me a chance to visit those classrooms, talk with the principals, and listen to them describe the work of our teachers and their staff. And one thing that I notice is those conversations confirm what we already know, that during these challenging times, our people, our teachers, our staff, our principals, everyone in our buildings, they're overcoming obstacles to make great things happen for kids, and we really appreciate that work. And that's my superintendent report.
Okay, thank you very much. We do have great things going on, that's for sure. All right, do we have any comments from the board?
No, there's probably 2 more pages he could have added, but after this past week, he's been so busy.
Okay, all right, well, if we don't have any other announcements or anything, I need a motion to adjourn. All right, we have a motion by Mr. Rutherford. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
And a second by Mrs. Brock. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. We are adjourned.